Lori Zobrowski is presenting the mentoring program education session this afternoon. And she will give us tips on how to work towards the mentoring of our current and new Toastmasters Club members. Lori is a newly minted distinguished Toastmaster, and for that, she give her a round of applause. That's pretty awesome. She has 10 years of experience in mentoring teams, individuals within her organization, and has used these tools in filling her role as the 2017-2018 Division A Director. Help me welcome Lori Zobrowski.
Hi, get a button. I want to start here. You should be getting a stapled packet and a single page in handouts. We will use both of those during my presentation. Why are we talking about mentoring? Why do we want a mentoring program? What I want to do this afternoon is tell you why for mentoring, why we want a program, why we want to have mentors to work with mentees, a little bit about what mentoring is, not necessarily about what the program is in your club, because that's something you're going to figure out. And I'm going to share with you a few tools that you can use to develop your own mentoring program. Many of us probably came into Toastmasters and the VPE of the club said, "Great, I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you signed up. We're glad you're a member of our club. Here's your mentor." Some of us may have come in and just became a member of the club without the assignment of a mentor. A few weeks into my membership, I said, "Oh, I'm supposed to have a mentor," so I asked another member of the club if he would be my mentor. The interesting thing is, as I started my initial journey in Toastmasters, I didn't use my mentor very much. And we had a conversation after I had given maybe speech 4 or 5, and he goes, "You haven't asked me to mentor you on anything." He helped me rehearse my icebreaker speech, but after that I kind of hit the ground running and went along. I call this, he was not my intentional mentor. I had him as an example, and I followed him because he had been a Toastmaster for years, and I looked to the examples of other experienced Toastmasters. They were my unintentional, and some of them still are, and they don't know it, my unintentional mentors. I'm just one who observes and learns by observing. I learn less so by being told how to do things. And so there's an issue there as you develop your mentoring programs within your clubs, how it's going to work. You may have some who don't want mentors, and you may have some who do want mentors. You may have mentors who want to mentor, and you may have members who don't want to do it at all. Why is mentoring important? Why is it crucial to the success of your club? Did you know that clubs have, I call this churn, that you have roughly a 40% average turnover year to year of existing members leaving, new members coming in? What are some of the reasons why members may leave? Some of it might be because they didn't have that mentor assigned. They didn't have someone. Yes, sir.
I was going to observe. I'm still in my club because I was given the chance to mentor.
Yes. So some stay because that mentorship relationship as a mentee or as a mentor was valuable to create that relationship within the club to stay. The other reason that we might want to have a mentor program is thinking about how we have moved from our legacy education program. Some of us haven't moved yet. Some have moved into pathways. Mentorship right now is really important for those who are jumping into pathways and they don't know really what they're doing yet. Having a mentor who is 1 or 2 steps ahead of them can help them through the process. If you go and look in the Competent Leader book and the Competent Communicator manual that talks about the mentoring program, as well as the other resources in Toastmasters, you can be a mentor after you've only done 3 or 4 speeches. You can be a mentor if you're already a leader in an organization to help guide those new members who are hoping to be leaders. So you don't have to be too far along in Toastmasters to be a mentor. The other piece that's a connection, and I like that we're talking about why is it important in a club. Why is a mentoring program outside of Toastmasters important? We had a mentoring program for a couple of years, about 4 years ago with the city of Tacoma, and I connected with an employee who had just come in within the year, and I've been a member or worked for the city of Tacoma for over 20 years. And so this was pairing up my experience in how to do time cards, how to network within the city. Where are the buildings in the city that contain our functions? And her being a brand new person who came from Olympia had no idea about Tacoma. So pairing up to just share what's there and how to do your time card was an important tool for her to learn as a new employee. Another reason is our generational differences. The millennial generation and those coming after them are really intent on establishing those relationships. Many of them leave their organizations because there has not been an establishment of a relationship with the people who are there. They don't feel a part of the group. So when we're a mentor in our club or a mentor in our organization, whether it's a work organization, a church, or whatever other volunteer organization, when we make those connections with the new people coming in, they're more likely to stay. Technology difficulty. The cost to replace employees is 50 to 60% of the salary. So if you have an employee that just came into your organization and they didn't make a connection with anybody, whether it was a mentor or a coworker sitting at the desk next to them, they're likely to leave because they want to go somewhere where they've made that connection. 50 to 60% of that salary is a heavy investment before they really become an established employee. So think about that turnover. As I said, the 44% people responded that the number one reason they've left the organization is their boss's management style. If they haven't made a connection with another person in their organization who might guide them through working with their manager, oh yeah, manager behaves this way, and this is a good way that you can deal with that and overcome and get moving forward in your position. It's a Buddhist proverb: if you light a lamp for someone, it will also brighten your own path. When I was in college, in my senior year in my chemistry degree, I wasn't doing so great at it. I was doing well enough that I was going to graduate. My professor had the insight to assign me a fellow student to work with, and I would say this is why. He felt that by me pairing with her, who was new to our university, she was really in the same classes as me, but because he recognized a little bit of my leadership confidence, that I can help her through the program, which in turn helped me through the program. Sometimes you learn more by trying to explain to somebody else than just trying to do it yourself. This is going to be a little bit of a group exercise. If any of you want to take notes about this, what obstacles might you have to developing your mentoring program? And we're going to pass the microphone.
Behind you.
And Kyle will go to the person who has a question. So what's one obstacle to a mentoring program?
How do you find a mentor?
How do you find a mentor? In the packet I gave you, and we'll talk about this a little later, there is a Toastmasters form, a mentor survey. There's also, and we'll talk about it also later, in whether you're using Free Toast Host or Easy Speak, that you can assign mentors. The first place to find your mentor is ask for volunteers.
What I found is because Toastmasters has a mentor program, the officers just assume there's a mentor program, but somebody really needs to run it. What I found is when you have somebody in charge and running a mentor program, that starts everything going. And if you don't have somebody that knows that you are the one, it just doesn't.
Right, so an obstacle is not having someone lead it, correct? Another obstacle,
Not enough people in your club?
not enough people in your club. What can you do about that? When we were talking just a few minutes ago with area directors, if we have an area council, we can communicate with other clubs. I sponsored a club this spring at Multicare, the Tacoma General Hospital. They were at charter strike, they dropped down to about 12, and their issue was they're a brand new club. They had 2 members who were in a club before. Who can mentor? So what did they do? They asked the sponsor, we need mentors. So we worked with a couple other clubs to line up mentors from other clubs. So you can do that.
As many of us are just starting pathways, a lot of our people just starting out don't feel qualified to mentor in pathways.
That's a good point. What can we do about that?
I didn't.
Can you restate the question?
So the question was that because Pathways is so new to all of us, there are many of us who don't feel qualified to be a mentor to somebody just coming in brand new to Pathways.
My suggestion is if you've already done the icebreaker, you can help someone else who hasn't yet.
Right, so you may be one step ahead as a mentor in Pathways than the person you're mentoring. That's okay. Like I said, when you're going down the path, you're also learning by leading.
Oh, I was just going to add on to that. Another thing to think about is, while Pathways is slightly different, it's still building on the same qualities you learn through Competent Communicator. So if you've done Competent Communicator, you can still mentor people with, communication style, how to prepare speech. So there's a lot of things that are transferable.
Yes.
But just because it's now Pathways doesn't mean all your experience is fun.
Exactly. Pathways really isn't any different than the legacy education program. The only difference is whether it's in a manual or it's online, you have your project. It still is about making a speech or being a Toastmaster or being an evaluator. Another question.
I was thinking it might be good to have the leader who decide on a person, have them make a list of the mentorings that work, ideas for mentoring, so that people aren't just, don't know what to do, but they have some ideas of how to help the speaker.
Very good. Any other obstacles?
Who mentors the mentors? How do they learn to be a mentor?
That's a good question. Probably from another mentor. There's also in the Toastmasters International Mentoring Package, item 1163, there's how to be a mentor, and we'll talk a little bit about that. What does the mentor do? What does the mentee do? And I'm going to move into that right now. Do you have one more obstacle?
One of the things is the mentor doesn't really know what they're supposed to do and how long they're supposed to do it. And really for the Toastmaster, it's getting them through the 30 speeches. It's not a multi-year thing.
That's the initial mentoring project, correct? But those of us who have already done our first 3 speeches, what would I have a mentor for now? Probably to get through a project. We'll talk about that.
Can I list one more obstacle?
Yep,
Mismatch between mentor and mentee.
yes. I think we get to that in a minute. So what does being a mentee mean? This is different than being coached. This is different than in a work environment where you have a manager or a boss. Being a mentee is to learn from someone who wants you to grow. I do believe that's different than most managers and bosses' styles. Some are also good mentors. So when you are wanting to pick a mentor, yes, I'm the mentee, and I want to pick a mentor, I want to learn, I want somebody to help me grow in, whether it's just Toastmasters in general, being a better speaker, doing X leadership project. I want somebody to help me to grow. There's responsibilities of mentors and mentees, and some of those responsibilities match. Mentors listen. They ask their mentees their goals. They answer questions. They share their experiences. They encourage, excite, nudge a little bit, instead of push. Push means like going off the cliff. They recognize the mentee's accomplishments, and they celebrate the mentee's accomplishments. What do mentees do? They listen. As a mentor, my goal is to listen to the mentee to find out where they want to go. It's not where I want them to go. I want them to recognize where they're going. The mentee is to tell the mentor their goals. Ask questions. Share fears and concerns. Who remembers coming in to Toastmasters brand new and being scared to death about doing that icebreaker? Be honest. The mentor is to help that mentee get over that fear of that first speech. They want to, the mentee wants to stretch. The mentee is going to do the work, and they're going to grow. That's our goal, right? The mentee acknowledges the mentor's assistance. Part of that recognition in the legacy education program is in Project 8, is filling out the response when the mentor has helped you through those 3 speeches. That's recognizing the mentor's assistance. And to celebrate their own accomplishments, and to celebrate that the mentor helped them through that. How long is a relationship? A couple of you asked that in the obstacles. It varies. It could be a project. The high performance leadership project, I was really confused about that when I went to do it the first time. I was asking people, well, where's my mentors for this? Those of you that haven't explored a high performance leadership project, well, your guidance team is your mentors. I had somebody have to tell me that, oh no, you're still mentors, but they're now a committee of mentors. And they're to recognize different pieces in your leadership path. So it could be a project one at a time, or X number of projects, just like the initial mentor's 3 speeches. It could be to get through the listening project in a competent leader. It could be getting through level 1, getting through level 1 and 2, helping somebody sponsor, mentor, or coach a club. So it could be a project or multiple projects. When does it end? There's many times. Initially, if it just isn't working, that relationship isn't developing, it's like, you know what, maybe as the mentee, you know what, I'm just not connecting with David. I think I need a different mentor, and that should be okay, right? You know, we all have different interest strengths, communication styles, recognizing those things may be what is the block in that relationship. It could be a timing issue that David and I just can't get on the same schedule. It could be ended at any time by either party, okay? And hopefully we won't take offense of that, right? It could be the mentor was really excited to be a mentor and something happened in their life and they just don't have the time anymore. That's okay. How many mentors should a mentee have? As many as they need. Exactly. Brand new Toastmaster, what do you think? Probably just one mentor. Could be a little overwhelming. I'm going to give you a mentor on leadership and one on speeches, and another one just on the relationship in the club. That might be a little overwhelming for a new member. Out of curiosity, how many of you have more than one mentor right now? How many don't have a mentor right now? How many want a mentor? Right. Hopefully through the rest of this we'll figure out how you can get that mentor. Okay, making your program work. So we talked about why we want to have a mentoring program, a little bit about the responsibilities of the mentor and the mentee. There's a few responsibilities that are on your mentor coordinator. Usually that's assigned to the VPE, but in reality, VPEs have a lot of things to do, so maybe the VPE wants to pick up somebody to help them to run the program. How do you make it work? One, who's in charge of the program? You can have a VP of membership, or a VP of mentoring. Like I said, in the club leadership handbook, it describes the VPE is the leader of the mentorship program. However, we all know how many responsibilities a VPE has. Now they're also learning everything they have to do with pathways. Having somebody else designated as the mentorship leader of the program, takes some of that burden off the VPE. It could be a special event committee. It could be the past president. The past president has a vested interest in the club continuing on, and the responsibilities now as past president have dropped drastically, and maybe they would be the ideal person to take over leading the mentoring program, if they're so inclined. You have to remember that maybe there's somebody else in the club who would really be inclined to run that. So that it might be just a volunteer. We talk about mentor-mentee matchup. That's part of running the program. In your packet, I gave you the mentor survey form. It's about page 3, I believe. Hand that out to all your club members. Once a year, twice a year. Some people may initially say, no, I don't want to be a mentor right now, but come January, okay, we're all done with everything I had to get done between June and December. Now I'm ready to be a mentor. Hand out the survey again and find a new set of volunteers. We're going to do a little practice with the other form that we handed out. That kind of goes hand in hand with the mentor survey. The leader of the program,
The other form?
there was 2 handouts. There was a stapled packet and there was a one sheet. If you didn't get it, raise your hand and we'll locate them.
What do you need, one sheet or two?
One sheet, the member interest survey. The program manager also is going to check in, recognize, and celebrate what's going on with the mentors and the mentees. Now, this other form that we have, hopefully you all have that now, is I want each of you to fill that out. We're going to fill that out. We're going to pair up. One of you is going to be the mentee, and one of you is going to be the mentor, based on how you fill out this form.
This one?
Member interest survey. Fill that out. Really, the front page is the most important part of that. Fill that out. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. And then we're going to have an experience. Especially the first one, the more likely that mentee, that new member especially, is to remain in the club because somebody made an attempt to make that relationship. Text a selfie to me. This is an example of what the mentoring program coordinator could do, is to ask the mentor and the mentee to send a picture of the 2 of them at their meeting to the program leader to track it. It's a simple way to track. So you can post on your club website or your Facebook page. Okay, so we did why. We talked a little bit about what mentors and mentees are, a little bit about how to establish that initial relationship using the member interest survey. I apologize for not explaining filling out how much of it you needed to for this. The back side of that survey is more about the club atmosphere. The first half of the first page is really the part that gets to the mentor. One of the things that I have done with my mentees is there is a new member orientation list that I got from Susie Proctor, if any of you know who she is. And it goes through a whole outline of what to do with that new member initially. Introduce them to the education program, find out their goals, find out what their fears are, we talked about that, and make a plan for the future. When are you going to do your icebreaker? When do you want to be the timer the first time in a meeting? To set some groundwork to get the mentee involved in the meetings. The other thing you want to do as a mentor is you might want to, the first few meetings, sit with your mentee. Help them through what is going on in the meeting because they have never been there before. In this handout, I have some resources for mentoring, some tools for the mentoring program. Toastmasters International gives us a whole kit. Has a whole kit on the mentoring program. This speech, this presentation is a part of that. The mentor survey form in here is a part of that package. How to Manage a Club's Mentor Program is a one-page document. It's in that 1163. On this document, I also listed some tips that I found exploring mentoring ideas through Google. There's companies that sell software with all kinds of tips and tools for mentoring. However, we already have those tools. We have a tool in Free Toast Host. How many have been here? BPEs, how many of you clicked on the mentor menus on the sidebar in the Free Toast Host? This is kind of small, but there's a mentor-mentee request form. It's almost just like this mentor survey form. There's assigned mentors by the VPE. Now the VPE is the only one that has access to this. I tried because I'm also a club president and I'm a club sergeant at arms, and different things come up when you log into Free Toast Host. So if you are not the VPE, but you're running the program, you may need to work with the VPE to do the online stuff in the program. When the VPE goes to the assigned mentors, then there's this membership reports, membership records, technology difficulties. Membership reports menu, and it opens the next screen where you can print a membership report. You can actually print out the club members and who's their mentors. I didn't get a screenshot of that. For those of you who might be using EasySpeak, when you set up a new member profile, there's a drop-down box. I highlighted it to assign the mentor. And then you can run a report, and this is the report on me. Everyone who I am a mentor for and who, if I had a mentor assigned, would show up in the mentor column. So in our software tools to manage our clubs, we have mentor management tools. They at least can give you a list. And then if you remove them through either the Free Toast Host or EasySpeak, you take a person off of that mentor, then they don't show up on the report anymore. Pretty simple. How do you feel about that? Are you ready to go back to your clubs and start your mentorship program? I hope that you understand why we want to have a mentorship program. It will keep our new members involved. It may keep our experienced members involved, both because they could be a mentor, or maybe they discover, I need that mentor to get through brand new pathways, to get through level 1. So even as an experienced Toastmaster, it's okay to have a mentor. A little bit about what we're going to do if we're a mentor or if we're a mentee. The biggest thing was listen. You notice that was number 1 on both lists. One other thing I have in here, a couple of years ago when I presented this, on the very last page, I have a suggestion on what happens in the first couple mentor and mentee meetings. These are just ideas from what I gleaned being a mentor at that time. I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all about it, but it's suggestions. I'm not used to these. Any questions? Any further questions?
You mentioned the new member orientation checklist.
New member orientation checklist.
You got from Susie Crawford.
That I got from Susie Proctor. I will make that part of the package that we upload to the district and get it out to all of you.
Thank you very much.
If you send it to me, I can send it to everyone who pre-registered on Eventbrite.
Yes. So I will get that to Kyle. I think it's on my computer at work, so it's going to have to wait till Monday. Okay. It's a really nice checklist. We put it into our new member packet. We have a packet for new members, and we have that. We have the member interest survey. We also have a description, brief description of all the roles and who all the officers are. And so that helps some, and we make sure that the mentors have that when they have their meetings. Any other questions?
What do you call the mentee in pathways?
Protege.
Very good. Protege. How many of you have explored pathways a little bit? You all know that mentoring is an absolute function in level 2. You can't complete level 2 without a discussion about mentoring. And you have to do a speech about it. One of the things that I liked about this presentation is related to the pathways. Is in our surveys to assess our skills and pathways, the very last question is, can I relate this to my life outside of Toastmasters? To me, mentoring, I definitely can relate to my life outside of Toastmasters. Being intentional to ask for guidance from somebody else who doesn't have a yes-no decision on my employment is what it's all about. So what those things that we can take with us outside our Toastmasters lives, I think is vital. I really like Pathways for asking that question. I want to thank you for listening and participating, and I'll stick around for a little while during the break if you have any more questions.